All right, this has been kind of a weird one to try and figure out how to start. I wasn't actually going, well, no, I was going to do a video today. It wasn't that I wasn't going to. I almost didn't because I'm a mom, so obviously that comes first. My kids come first, my home comes first, and my husband comes first. And today was kind of one of those Mondays where I was like, okay, it's a little crazy. We're probably not doing this today. And then I ended up being able to. So here I am, my quick, like, one's napping, one's watching a movie. So I'm hoping like all stays quiet. I don't have any interruptions and I can quickly get through this video. I even have coffee to try and help me get through this quickly. So I'm hoping this week, just to give you kind of a quick idea of what's going on, to do a video on tomorrow, hopefully Wednesday. Wednesday, my only issue is I literally have a one window of time where I can do it because I have to be somewhere early in the day and then later in the afternoon. So like early evening. So if I don't miss that, if I don't hit that window, I'll miss it. So there's a chance I won't be able to do anything Wednesday, but I'm hoping to also have one out Wednesday. And then Thursday, I also would like to put out a fourth video, since I only did like one last week, and see if I can get that done. But early afternoon, I have to be somewhere. So I'm really hoping that I can get up and get everything orderly enough, early enough that I can record in the morning and then be done. Because normally I record these mid-afternoon just because it works out best for my kids for me to do that. So we'll see what happens this week. The plan is for 4 episodes, Monday through Thursday. We will see what happens. So, and hopefully I'll ask my husband to show me how to fix the camera because something about this is bothering me. Maybe it is just like it normally is, but I'm pretty sure I didn't adjust it correctly. So we'll just deal with it today because I don't really want to waste more time on it. I wasted enough time trying to figure it out and I could have been doing this video instead. So if you want to follow along, you can at fearmeitsbre on Instagram and Twitter as well. You can like the video, you can share the video, you can ignore the video, and you can close out the video and stop listening to me ramble if you would like. It is all up to you. I have 3 topics today that I would like to go over. They're a little older. I was going to do them last week, but like I said, last week just ended up not being a good week for me to record any episodes, unfortunately, even though I really wanted to. The first one we're going to go over is about Colorado becoming the first transgender tourism state. We're also going to go over the updates on the Pentagon documents leaker, because there's a few things that have come out about that last week. And then we are also going to talk about the Budlight Saga. I just want to like find some kind of spoof of it. Somebody make a meme having to do with Bud Light and Dylan and everything. And instead of like the Twilight Saga, it's the Budlight Saga. So if you do that, please tag me in it because I think it would be hysterical and I would love to see it. But I can't come up with anything myself because I've watched Twilight and I've read some of the book. I just don't like, I don't know the meme culture around Twilight enough to do it myself. So if you do, please do it and please tag me because I really want to see it. So that out of the way, let's jump right into the first thing with Colorado. Before I do, I just remembered, before I do, I was researching the information on Colorado and I just happened to have these 2 articles back to back as I was scrolling on my phone. And I took a screenshot of it and sent it to myself so that I could show it up on this computer screen because I feel like it is a huge, huge, huge turnoff to this trans kid stuff. And it's ironic, right? So I typed in, you know, Colorado, transgender, kid, like whatever I typed in, these are what came up back to back when I was searching for articles. Let me switch the screen over. The first one says, Colorado becomes first state to okay teen transgender treatment tourism, which is the article that we're going to be using today. That was weird. The bottom one says transgender teen is arrested over plot to shoot up Colorado schools. If you ever wanted an argument against messing with kids' hormones and not treating their mental illnesses that they happen to have, seriously, you really think this is a good idea, Colorado? To, instead of treat a mental illness, to enable it and literally create these school shooters? I just thought it was ironic that those were back to back, so I just wanted to show the screenshot from my phone. But yeah. Anyway, We're going to go into the article now because I just wanted to show that. So, Daily Mail says, Colorado becomes first transgender tourism state. Democratic governor signs bill that allows children to travel for puberty blockers, even if drugs are banned where they live. So, Florida. Florida has banned puberty blockers and transgender surgeries for minors. So if I was in Florida and I really wanted my child, for some bizarre reason, to chop its genitals off, I can take them all the way up over here to Colorado and they'll do it. Nope, Colorado's here, right? To Colorado, and they'll do it for me. Seems legit. A trio of new laws ensure that people traveling there for care will not be punished. Democratic-led Colorado is a liberal peninsula among a sea of hostile red states. New laws come about as over a dozen states curtail trans minors' access to care. Colorado will become the first state to legally protect teen transgender treatment tourism as a part of a trio of bills signed by its Democratic governor. The new laws mean healthcare providers cannot be sued by red states, where gender-affirming medication and surgery are illegal if the residents travel to Colorado for care. So, when they say treating... it's not... Okay. So, it's not like if a transgender teenager broke their arm and went into a hospital in Florida, they would be like, bup, 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 we can't treat you, you're trans. They would still treat them. What they're saying is we're not going to chop a little boy's balls off because mommy seems to think that he's a girl, right? Say a little 4-year-old boy who can't consent. Children, that is my biggest push here. Children cannot consent to these things. This might be an unpopular opinion, especially in the Christian realm, but I will say, if you are an adult, on your own head be it. If you want to go chop off your balls and stop yourself from being able to father children, or vice versa, rip everything out, create a prosthetic penis from your arm, and not be able to carry a child in your womb, that's on you. We've warned you. I've warned you. I've said enough words against it. I've given all the facts. That is on you. That is your decision. You are an adult. But you do not take somebody under 18 whose frontal lobe has not even finished developing because they say, oh, mom, I'm a girl. My son tells me all the time, oh, mom, I'm a semi-truck. I'm not taking his hands and feet and screwing 18 wheels into them so he can drive around and pretend to be a semi-truck. Why would I let him chop something off if he told me he was a girl? This is something that most children will grow out of. And to treat them in this way and to abuse their bodies when they grow out of it, usually by whatever age, is ridiculous. So, if you're an adult, I would go as far as to say, if transgender surgeries are going to be legal, I think that it should be 25 plus. And I think this because, like I said, your frontal lobe in your brain has not finished developing until 25 years of age. Me at 20 and me at 25, very different people. Again, me at 25 and me at 30 will probably be very different people. But most people who are 20 to 25 are fairly vulnerable. They're college students. Normally they're not married. Normally they don't have kids. I'm like a weird unicorn snowball. Like, I don't know how I ended up the way I did, and I'm grateful that I did. But most people 20 to 25 are just as peer pressure influenced as people who are 12 to 18, or people who are 8 to 12, or people who are 4 to 8. So I really think if you're going to do this, and you're an adult, on your own head be it, you've been warned. But I think that it should be 25 and up if it's going to be a thing. And I've been accused of not actually being a libertarian because I don't believe in transgender surgeries for minors. Beyond the obvious thing, being a Christian and disagreeing with it totally because it's taking something that God has created, saying that he's made a mistake with it, and just completely effing it up. Kids can't consent to these things, okay? You are forcing down children's throats sexually explicit material. You are forcing children who don't fully understand sex, don't fully understand their bodies, they don't fully understand even puberty yet, that, oh, well, you don't need to be a girl, so we're going to put you on a hormone blocker so that your breasts don't grow. And if they try to, you're going to have issues. Well, we're going to take your arm and we're going to take skin out of it and we're going to make you a prosthetic penis. Don't question it. Don't question it. You'll love it. These children cannot consent to this because, like I said, they're not going to be the same people at 4, at 8, at 12, at whatever that they are right now. Most of these children, I think it's like 94%, grow out of this. So you're going to sterilize them and allow their sterilization because they had a delusion at 12 that they might be a boy. You're going to make it so that this little girl can no longer carry children. Depending on the surgery, sometimes you have those trans man gets pregnant. But if she goes through everything, there does come a point where you cannot reverse it. I've listened to detransitioners and I've listened to people who wanted to detransition but could no longer because of how far they had gone with it and then realized, I will never be able to have a family. I will never be able to carry a child in my womb. I will never be a father. I will never be able to feel sexual pleasure because I've cut off everything that would give it to me. These children don't understand. They cannot consent to this. If you're an adult, so be it. Whatever. Do what you're going to do. You were warned and you're going to harm yourself. And it's very tragic. And a lot of these children, will you see these images of got my double mastectomy, and it shows them with their scar across their breast. They used to be, a teenage girl. Now they're not. Have scars on their arms, and they have very visible self-harm marks. These are not children that should be allowed to cut anything else off of their body. These are children that need to be treated for their mental disorders. These are children that I don't want to say need to be medicated because I think there's varying degrees of okayness there where I'm not saying just put them on a bunch of antidepressants. But what I am saying is there are ways of treating mental illness that don't involve sterilizing and chopping children to bits. And that's all I'll say on that for now. It makes Colorado a safe haven, ironic wording, for children under 18 with gender dysphoria looking for puberty blockers. Again, most children under 18 end up coming out of their gender dysphoria by the time they're 18. Who else, when they were a kid, was insecure in their own body? Who else didn't know what the heck they were? I was insecure. I still am insecure. Everybody's insecure to a degree about themselves, right? When I was a teenager, I never was like, I'm insecure. Mom, can you help me cut my boobs off? I was not. That never crossed my mind. It never seemed to cross my friend's mind either. So that's another reason that a lot of this stuff is not children. It is parents who want they want one of those like, oh, if I have a transgender child, I will be praised. I will be this. I will be that. Jazz Jennings, the whole thing with his story coming out where his mom apparently would wake him up in the night and tell him that we are going to put this dilator in your wound and we are going to open up your wound so that you have an artificial vagina still. We're going to turn this dilator and we're going to force that to stay open or I will beat you. Is the apparent story that Jazz Jennings' mother forced him to do these things to make him a girl. And now that Jazz is an adult, because of the hormone blockers and things he was put on, his penis never fully developed. So he's got a lot of stuff going on. He doesn't seem happy. And I feel really bad for the kid. He's like, 21, 22 now? He's younger than me, I think. But it's like, man, I feel awful for him. And his mother clearly abused him. And clearly it looks like it was the mother who was making him go through all this stuff. Maybe Jazz had a little bit of gender dysphoria or insecurity, but the mom took full advantage of that because she knew that it would get her primetime specials. It would get her on the news. It would get her on TV. And that's terrible. It is terrible for a parent to do that to their child. If you really want to be famous for something like that, go do it to yourself. If you wouldn't do it to yourself, please don't do it to your child. Anyway, it makes Colorado a safe haven for children under 18 with gender dysphoria looking for puberty blockers, hormone therapies, and sex change operations, which have been restricted in more than a dozen Republican states. For some weird reason, okay, so this shows us the red states are where, Florida too, where the surgeries have been outright banned. Texas is looking at a potential ban. These two orange states are a suspended ban, so I guess it was banned and now it's not anymore. And then these two yellow states have partial bans. Two states, Indiana and Idaho, have banned transgender care for minors, signing bills into law. Leading U.S. medical authorities support so-called gender-affirming care for minors, but conservatives and some experts argue children are too young to make irreversible changes to their bodies. Yes, they are. It's also not gender-affirming. To affirm one's gender would be to say, listen, I know that you feel insecure, and I know that you don't feel like you were born into the right body, but God does not make mistakes. You were not a mistake. You were made a woman for a reason. You were made a man for a reason. That's not something that you can change. And I understand why you feel how you feel, but I think that you should go through therapy. I think that you should talk to somebody, and I think that you should really get on top of this, because if you go through with this, it is going to harm you permanently. And that's just not what we're doing with people. Instead, we're saying, you want to chop your junk off? Cool. 3 bills that Governor Jared Polis signed into law on Friday also protect healthcare providers from being sued by neighboring states if their residents travel to Colorado for abortions. Border states of Wyoming and Oklahoma are among red states that have severely restricted transgender care for minors and abortions. Governor Polis said, here in Colorado, we value individual freedom and we stand up to protect them. I'm excited by the work of advocates and legislators to further Colorado's reputation as a beacon of freedom, a beacon of choice, a beacon of individuality where we live our own lives on our own terms here in a Colorado for all. You don't have the freedom and you don't have the right to chop your kids' junk off. That's just what it is. You don't have the freedom and you don't have the right to maim and harm your children. What about their freedom and what about their rights? Let them grow up. Again, I disagree with transgenderism because it goes against the fundamentals of what I believe in. But as an American, let them grow up and let them make the decision once they've gone through puberty, their body is done growing and developing. Obviously, your body continues to develop because you continue to age and eventually you continue to, you die. You grow up, you get old, and you die. That's just how life works. But let their brains develop first if you're going to do this. Ask them again if they say at 12, I think I'm a boy. Ask them again at 25 and see what they say then. Democratic State Senator Julie Gonzalez added, we see you, and in Colorado, we've got your back, but conservatives have pushed back on liberal efforts to make interstate travel for restricted healthcare easier. Republican-controlled Idaho, for instance, has become the first state to pass a law explicitly restricting some out-of-state travel for abortions. In Colorado, debates over the bills led by the Republican minority lasted more than 29 hours. State and federal legislators have taken to calling interstate travel for controversial healthcare, abortion, tourism, promoting Democrats to reinforce constitutional protections for free interstate travel. So here's some states where, from the Guttmacher Institute, which actually the Guttmacher study that I like to reference a lot, was actually, I believe it was funded by Planned Parenthood. So according to Guttmacher Institute, there's no ban on abortions in Maine, New York, Pennsylvania, Virginia, all of the East Coast up here. Over on the West Coast, California to Washington, there's no bans. This little clump of red states in the middle, Texas, Louisiana, Missouri, Alabama, Tennessee, West Virginia, have total bans, I guess. South Dakota and Idaho as well. You've got Georgia has banned after 6 weeks, which I don't think is enough, but it's a start. You have banned after 15 weeks in Arizona. Again, not quite enough, but it is a start. And then you have banned after 20 or more weeks in Wisconsin, Indiana, North Carolina, and South Carolina, which is absolutely barbaric. We found out the gender of both of my children at 20 weeks. They were fully formed little humans, and it just mortifies me to look at ultrasound pictures of my kids, even as far back as you look at ultrasound pictures that people get at 6 weeks when they find out they're pregnant, and they're these little dots, but they've got little feet and they've got little hands. There is probably one of the dumbest arguments that I've ever seen where they're like, look at this tissue clump. This is a baby at 9 weeks. Still think it's a baby? It's literally, I want to say that it was the fetal sac that the baby is in is the image that they took. I've seen images of babies at 9 weeks. I've seen images of babies when they're that little. They have little hands and feet. I've seen the images of aborted babies at that age with their little hands on a dime, like a coin, to show you the size. It is a bull crap lie that they tell you because I don't know. I guess the United States wants to follow Canada and just kill its citizens. I'm surprised we don't have a MAID program yet. And I'm referring to Canada's medically assisted suicide, not a MAID. Okay, there's the politicians. Let's get to the next section of this article because I'm taking way too long in this one. But it really just gets me and riles me up and makes me angry. Last year, Nevada Democratic Senator Catherine Cortez Masto introduced a bill called the Freedom to Travel for Healthcare Act, which would make it unlawful for a person or government official to prevent or punish traveling across state lines to receive or provide reproductive health care that is legal in that state. You know, it's not reproductive care. Once you're pregnant, you've already reproduced. At that point, it is flat out murder. State Republicans shot it down, calling it radical in an effort to inflame the public and raise the what-ifs. Democrat-led New Mexico passed a similar abortion protection bill earlier this year to legally shield people who seek abortions or gender-affirming care and those who provide the treatments from interstate investigations. Colorado's government has set itself apart among a larger Republican cluster of states in the Midwest, where over the past few years, transgender people's access to puberty blockers, hormone therapy, and transition surgeries have become heavily restricted, and in their cases of care for minors, banned outright. Fully expecting the Supreme Court to overturn the 73 decision that guaranteed a right to abortion last spring, Polis and the Democratic majority state legislature codified the right to the procedure in the state constitution, meaning any Coloradian who wants an abortion could get one regardless of the SCOTUS ruling, and that is pure evil. Because the American Constitution does not guarantee the right to abortion, as much as they love to say it. But the fact that, the federal constitution anyway, but the fact that they put it within their own state's constitution is disgusting and abhorrent. In the months leading to the June decision and immediately following it, emergency trips to Colorado from abortion-hostile states for abortion services ballooned 33%, the third most of any state. The uptick began in April, around the time Colorado's neighbor Texas passed a vigilante-style law that banned abortion at 6 weeks. That's just common sense. I'm sorry. Colorado also became the first state in October 2021 to include transition-related care for transgender people as part of the requirements for essential health care in the state, meaning the people looking to access those transition services will be able to use the health insurance they pay to get the care they need. Already tenuous access to transition care services, also referred as gender-affirming care, is dissipating across the U.S. and quickly. Good. Get rid of it. Over a dozen states have limited access to some extent. Most recently, Indiana Governor Eric Holcomb banned all transition care for minors starting in July. Good. This means that minors currently receiving transitioning care in Indiana have until the end of the year to stop doing so. Starting July 1st, transgender youth under 18 will be prohibited from accessing hormone therapy, puberty blockers, and surgeries in the state. Good. The June 22 decision in the Supreme Court case that returned the abortion policy-making power to the individual states created a confusing patchwork of laws governing the procedure across the U.S. The inconsistent laws, in combination with increased wait times, created a new migratory pattern in which patients are forced to drive hours or even days to an abortion-friendly state. Oh my, you're forced to drive hours to kill your child. Yeah, go cry a river. I'm sure your child is, as you're dismembering them, ripping their limbs off, stabbing a needle into their head, injecting them with poison, causing heart attacks, and every other terrible way that abortions are performed. I literally was looking through some comments on a Facebook post where people were like, that is not how abortions are performed. There's nothing to rip apart at that amount of time, at 10 weeks or whatever they're. And I was like, there are people who are just so misinformed that it makes me sad, because if you informed them, they probably would be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. And then there's others where you literally show them the images. Oops, my phone just went off. There are ones where they literally show the images and it doesn't matter to them. They see the baby. And there was one image I saw of a woman who painted across her belly, abortion, death date, this day, because she was so excited to go get her abortion. I've been to the egregious Instagram site, Shout Your Abortion, where people are just like, my abortion party, my abortion cake, I threw myself an abortion shower. There are just some people that are so obsessed with the death of babies and happy to provide it that I really do think that there's some evil people in this world that just cannot be redeemed. And I know I shouldn't say that, because as a Christian, we're supposed to believe that anybody can be redeemed, you know, that nobody's too far gone, that God can reach anybody. But there, I think, are some people that have just proven that they're just too far gone. I've started to believe that. And a lot of these people, I really think, are the ones that are celebrating it. The ones who know what it is and are celebrating it are a special kind of evil. They're not the same as the ones who are misinformed, or the ones that just don't realize fully what they're doing. And those are the ones that you can reach and you can recognize, hey, what you're about to do it's an egregious sin. You are about to take a life. You're about to murder somebody. And I have a hard time with people who say that we should sugarcoat that and not call it what it is, even in those situations. Just because if I was sinning so egregiously that I was going to be separated from God forever, I would want somebody to tell me. I would want somebody not to just look the other way and let me continue down a path to hell. Because wasn't it the rich man and Lazarus? Which story was it where one of them was in hell and he was like, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you try harder to save me? As he's in there burning. I would hate to do that to somebody. I would hate to know that I could have spoken up and I could have showed somebody, listen, this is wrong, but there is forgiveness. You can have forgiveness. You don't have to keep going down this road. And even if you have, there is still forgiveness. You just have to repent and you just have to accept it. I would rather somebody be mean to me in those 5 minutes than spend an eternity in eternal damnation. And it just blows my mind when people are like, we need to not call it what it is because it could hurt somebody's feelings. It just blows my mind and it makes me sad. So I'm going to move on from that topic. I spent way too much time on it. I am so sorry. And I probably went off a few times in ways that didn't make sense because they did in my head. I just don't know if the tangents actually worked, verbally. So I'm going to move on from that and we're going to jump over probably to the Pentagon leaker. The first one I'm going to do is, I guess this one. I had to dig to find information on him. It was actually quite hard. This is from oh my gosh, there's so many ads. And it just sent me to those ads. Seriously? I tried to, you can't just exit the ads. This is crazy. All right. Accused military leader Jack Teixeira, I still don't know if I'm saying that right, to face detention hearing in Worcester on Thursday. So that's Worcestershire? I don't know. I don't know if it's pronounced like the sauce or not. It's in Massachusetts. So it's going to be on Thursday. Worcestershire, whatever. Jack Teixeira, the 21-year-old Massachusetts Air National Guardsman accused of leaking a top-secret document on social media channel, is slated to appear at Worcestershire's federal courthouse Thursday for a detention hearing. Teixeira, whose leaks on social media site Discord continue to fuel nationwide headlines, will appear in the Worcester because that's where the federal magistrate judge assigned to the case, David H. Hennessy, normally sits, and I believe he's from Massachusetts as well, as we've said, so it's his, it's a court from his home state. Hennessy, who traveled to Boston for Teixeira's initial appearance in federal court last week, is slated to hear the arguments Thursday about whether Teixeira should be kept in federal custody ahead of the trial. The hearing, which is then set for 1 p.m., is likely to attract a swarm of media attention to the Harold D. Donahue Federal Building and U.S. Courthouse at 595 Main Street. Teixeira of Dighton faces charges of unauthorized retention and transmission of national defense information, which holds a maximum sentence of 10 years, and removal and retention of classified documents, which holds a maximum of 5 years. So I guess that could be up to 15 years in prison. At least, probably. Last week, Teixeira answered the question from Hennessy with a soft yes, sir, in an otherwise silent courtroom. His father called out, "Love you, Jack," as Teixeira was led out of the courtroom. Hennessy served as the chief magistrate judge of the U.S. District Court of Massachusetts from 2017 to 20. Before being named to the bench, he served chief of the Worcester branch of the U.S. Attorney's Office from 2008 to 13. Teixeira's leak of the documents to Discord has led to a national conversation about the access of junior-level military employees to sensitive national security information. It also continues to fuel national news headlines, including a story in the Washington Post Saturday regarding the resurgence of Afghanistan as a terrorism staging ground, which that's actually the next article we're going to go into. I just wanted to update on what's going on with him because I had a really hard time finding any information on how he is doing and how his trials are going. So that other information, I guess, that he released, I'm going to pull up a New York Post article because that's got the information there. ISIS using Afghanistan as terror base after U.S. withdrawal, docs from alleged leaker Jack Teixeira reveal. Islamic State terrorists are using Afghanistan as a base for aspirational plotting against American and European targets in the wake of President Biden's disastrous military withdrawal, according to a secret Pentagon assessment allegedly leaked by Massachusetts Air National Guardman Jack Teixeira. The U.S. intelligence findings, part of a trove posted to the Discord messaging platform, discussed specific ISIS plans to hit major events like the 2022 FIFA World Cup soccer tournament in Qatar, as well as smaller-scale attacks on churches, embassies, and other targets, the Washington Post reported. So I guess all this stuff was supposed to happen last year. I'm not sure what did and what didn't. ISIS leaders in Afghanistan were at work coordinating the terror plots in December 2022. The assessment relates. By February, the tally had increased to 15. So was that supposed to say 2013? 2023? I don't know if they got their dates right here. ISIS had been developing a cost-effective model for external operations that rely on resources from outside Afghanistan, operatives in target countries, and extensive facilitation networks, the top secret label report reads. The model will likely enable ISIS to overcome obstacles such as competent security services or reduce some plot timelines, minimizing disruption opportunities, the analysis added. The documents describe discussions with a British sympathizer willing to help ISIS construct a chemical weapon. Oh, that's great. Other efforts reportedly include contact with a Ukraine-based individual with expertise in large payload drones and outreach to engineering students in Damascus. The leak assessment buttressed recent testimony from General Michael Kurilla, head of U.S. Central Command. In March, Kurilla told the Senate Armed Services that ISIS-K, the Afghanistan branch of the Islamic State terror group, which killed 13 U.S. service members and hundreds of Afghans during Biden's chaotic 2021 pullout, has been growing in strength under the Taliban's rule. I am not at all surprised by that. It is my commander's estimate that the ISIS-K can do an external operation against the U.S. or Western interests abroad in under 6 months, little to no warning, Kurilla said. Why is this not being talked about? Why am I just like finding this out through a random New York Post article? Why isn't this all over the place? This is crazy. Like what they're trying to get us to talk about is, oh no, some kid did some dumb thing on Discord and leaked a bunch of information he shouldn't have. Okay, what was the information? We are not going to talk about that. Why not? That's just not important. This seems pretty important to me between the Russia-Ukraine stuff and this. Teixeira, a low-level 21-year-old IT technician, is accused of yeah, we know that. The Discord leaks, perhaps the largest national security breach in a decade, led Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin to order a 45-day review of Pentagon document security practices, which could result in stricter rules regarding security clearances and which would make it harder for people to get the truth out there. Not that I want people leaking stuff to our enemies, but I don't know that that was this kid's intent in what he did. From what I'm gathering, he was uncomfortable with what was going on and he wanted people to know about it. I don't think it's as malicious as they're trying to paint it out to be. So the last one we're going to do, we just did that one. Well, the last thing on this topic anyway. That the Massachusetts Air Guardsman was leaking documents earlier than previously thought. Which I kind of just covered in that last article, actually. But let's just take a quick look at this one. The Massachusetts Air Guardsman accused of leaking classified documents began posting sensitive information months earlier than originally known and to a much larger group, according to a chain of digital evidence linking the leaks to him collected by the New York Times. He was arrested last week. We know this information. But according to the Times report, the information technology specialist began leaking information months earlier in February to about 600 members. This leak of information has also This leak of information has also our lives in jeopardy, retired Massachusetts State Trooper Todd McGee said. McGee is a security and intelligence expert. The initial motivation or temptation may have been, I realized smaller, less sensitive documents previously. What if I up the ante? No one called me into question on other transmissions. Maybe I can get away with something bigger, more provocative, McGee explained. The 21-year-old had top secret clearances and was posting information about Russian-Ukraine casualties, activities of Moscow spy agencies, updates being provided to Ukraine, according to posts made under a username that the Times connected to Teixeira. McGee believes an evaluation process looking into our intelligence agency protocols will soon take place. I would think of the level of access to new information will be a part of that evaluation process, and at the end of that evaluation process, there will be most likely new policies and procedures, new access controls, as well as monitoring of information transmissions. The Air Force had already opened its own investigation. Teixeira has been charged under the Espionage Act with unauthorized retention and transmission of classified national defense information. The NBC News has reached out to the Pentagon and the FBI for more information. So I don't know. Regardless of his intentions, he exposed some very dark truths that we are being, surprise, we're being lied to. So I really think that that's what should be focused on here, not the person who did it. Again, it can easily be compared to Vietnam when leaks came out that, oh crap, we're not doing too hot and Vietnam's not doing too hot. It's very similar. But anyway, I just thought it would be interesting to have an update on that. This episode's kind of ramshackle and I feel like it's not flowing well. And I think that's partially because I'm trying to keep an ear to make sure Land Before Time is still on so that I don't have an interruption. And I'm kind of out of sorts today because, like I said, this was like I have a few minutes, go. And I decided to record. Hopefully tomorrow I'll be a little put together. a little more put together. The last thing we're going to look at is, I'm so sorry, Bud Light again, but I have some good news, some fun news on that one. And for some reason, this Daily Mail article isn't ginormous. Okay. Weird. All right. Bud Light is under fire. Marketing. This is worded very weirdly. Give me a second. Okay. I get it now. Bud Light's... okay. I already turned that ad off. Stop seeing this ad. I'm not interested. All right. Bud Light's under fire marketing VP takes leave of absence after Dylan Mulvaney controversy and is replaced by a Budweiser executive. So I guess she got in trouble. Alyssa Hirnscheid, the vice president of marketing for Bud Light, has taken a leave of absence, Adage reported on Friday. Hirnscheid was brought in June 2022 with a self-declared mission of making the beer less fratty. And on April 1st, the beer partnered with trans influencer. The Dylan Mulvaney partnership wiped $6 billion off the value of the company. Hirnscheid has been replaced by Budweiser Global Marketing VP Todd Allen. The Bud Light... Is there a way to pause this? The Bud Light marketing executive, whose team oversaw its disastrous partnership with trans activist Dylan Mulvaney, has taken a leave of absence, according to the report on Friday. Alicia Hirnscheid was hired to overhaul Bud Light's marketing in June 2022 with the vision of freshening up its image. But that took a disastrous turn on April 1st when the partnership with Mulvaney was announced, sparking a boycott and knocking $6 billion from the company's value. That's her. That's Dylan. I'm sure we all know this anyway. Dylan's 26. Wow. Okay. I actually didn't know that till now. Hirnscheid's team was responsible for Bud Light's widely lauded Super Bowl ad featuring Miles Teller and his wife Kaylee Sperry, the Bud Light Carry ad, which shows a woman carrying around beers to a table of friends without spilling a drop. I have no memory of that. I didn't watch the Super Bowl this year. Those ads... I thought I heard little footsteps outside the door. Yep, I'm right. I will be right back. Okay, I'm back and I don't remember where I was, so I think I was about to start. Okay, we talked about the ad. Yeah, this is why I edit these things, but I probably won't with this one just because I don't want to take the time. That vision was swiftly cut down on April 3rd when the brand's partnership with Dylan Mulvaney, a controversial trans activist with a mass following on social media, proved to be a step too far for Bud Light's loyal customers. Kid Rock was among the first to criticize the partnership and lead a boycott, with other conservative consumers, distributors, and suppliers following suit. Hirnscheid has not commented on the scandal. A graduate of Wharton Business School, she has hailed in interviews as the first woman to lead Bud Light in its 41-year history. Wow, that's pretty sad. The first woman, just really great representation there, ladies. On a March 30th interview with the Make Yourself at Home podcast, she told her strategy to ditch Bud Light's fratty reputation and embrace inclusivity to attract a young generation of drinkers. That's sketchy. We've talked about this. You don't try and attract children by using somebody who advertises themselves, Dylan Mulvaney, to children and teenagers. I'm a businesswoman. I had a really clear job to do when I took over Bud Light, and it was this brand is in decline. She said it's been in decline a really long time. If we do not attract young drinkers to come and drink this brand, there will be no future for Bud Light. Okay, yeah, okay. Those young drinkers are going to grow up anyway and probably drink it. You don't have to attract them when they're 14, woman, or when they're 18 and in college. I had a super clear mandate. It's like we need to evolve and evaluate this incredibly iconic brand. Elevate, not evaluate. What does evolve and elevate mean? It means inclusivity. It means shifting the tone. It means having a campaign that's truly inclusive and feels lighter and brighter and different and appeals to women and men. I want to hear her voice. I haven't actually listened to this video, so I'm going to turn it down in a second. Let's see.
Hyundai Santa Fe versus Subaru Outback. Hyundai Santa Fe wins.
Right,
I think number one, I'm a businesswoman. I had a really clear job to do when I took over Bud Light. And it was, this brand is in decline. It's been in decline for a really long time. And if we do not attract young drinkers to come and drink this brand, there will be no future for Bud Light. So I had this super clear mandate. It's like we need to evolve and elevate this incredibly iconic brand. And what I brought to that was a belief in, okay, what does evolve and elevate mean? It means inclusivity. It means shifting the tone.
She sounds like every other person that I've known that went to a liberal arts school and came back just brainwashed.
It means having a campaign that's truly inclusive and feels lighter and brighter and different and appeals to women and to men.
Mm-hmm.
And representation is at sort of the heart of evolution. You've got to see people who reflect you in the work. And we had this hangover. I mean, Bud Light had been kind of a brand of fratty, kind of out of touch humor. And it was really important that we had another approach. But
this is the same woman that we talked about like 2 weeks ago who was a frat girl herself. Well, I don't know, that may not be a term, but was, you know, there were pictures that surfaced from her in college indulging in that out of touch humor and totally enjoying it looked like. And also, I know men and women who drink Bud Light. You don't have to have Dylan Mulvaney dancing around in a dress or sitting in a bubble bath to convince them. That actually convinced them not to drink Bud Light even harder than they already were, because most people I know don't actually like the stuff. The only Bud Light product I have ever had is I had a sip of a Bud Light lemonade once and it was okay, but I don't like light beer. I would never drink light beer. The one time I tried light beer, I was just like, ugh, toward it. If anything, I like a Guinness. I like stout stuff. So I won't buy it. Not necessarily because I'm taking part in the boycott, because I'm like, rah, which I kind of am, like, yeah, boycott them. They're advertising to minors. Not necessarily minors, yes, minors, but more the underage crowd. Yeah, boycott that. That's bad. It's not even the transgender thing. And the thing is, if they really wanted this inclusivity, they could have chosen a transgender who actually believes in their transgenderism. Dylan Mulvaney's acting. We've been over this before, so I won't go into it. He's not really transgender. So you picked a poor representation for a transgendered individual to represent your brand. Pick someone who believes in it if you really want to go that road, but apparently they don't. So give me 1 second. And I guess I'll turn myself down and we'll finish out the video because it's almost over anyway. So I guess it just makes sense.
But anyway, listen, I'm not going to pretend that there isn't so much more work to do from a business results perspective and, of course, from a representation perspective. But I feel like you have to put your money where your mouth is when you're trying to evolve a brand and elevate it and bring in new consumers. So that's been incredibly important to me. Mm-hmm. I think
Bleh. Bleh. I don't like her. Representation, it's sort of at the heart of evolution. You got to see people who reflect you in the work, and we've had this hangover. We just listened to it, so I'm not going to read the quotes. In an earlier interview with Forbes, she gave the same mandate as the first woman to lead the biggest beer brand in the world. It's an amazing opportunity to really evolve and elevate Bud Light, the brand I love. Do you, though? The campaign is meant to feel different, to be lighter and brighter with confidence and magnetism, and it's really critical to depict real people in real places. What I need to do is help the brand evolve. That is my passion point. Prior to her current role, Hershide worked as the associate brand manager for Listerine. That's random. And afterwards headed Bud Light's parent Anheuser-Busch's in-house agency for 7 months. During that time, the marketing specialist claims to have created the firm's current internal influencer agency, an approach that Bud Light now appears to be favoring with its decision to market through figures like Dylan Mulvaney. In an interview with New York PR publication Provoke Media last year, Hershide hailed the companies like Nike for inclusivity, culturally relevant campaigns featuring Black athletes, while also praising former employer General Mills for its more wholesome and genuine approach to ads. I have always been impressed with how culturally relevant and impactful the marketing is for Nike, she told the outlet in November after being named one of its 25 American Innovators of the Year. Also, as a parent, she added, there's just something so wholesome and genuine about what General Mills does. That said, despite being a proponent of progressive ideals, the New Yorker is a registered Republican, according to public records updated in 2016, and has a family with 3 young children. That is interesting information that I did not know about her. She married her husband, Henry Charles Hearn. I really probably am not saying this right. I butcher pronunciations of things. But I guess her name is Heinerschneid, a consultant in Boston with Tapestry Networks in 2011. She spent 5 years working with him after graduating Harvard, where she studied English. Their wedding was announced by the New York Times in May 2011. She enrolled in the Marketing Master's Program, a $60,000 per year at Wharton, finishing 2013. She has held roles at Cheerios, Listerine, and Anheuser-Busch in the time since. Mulvaney, a transgender woman who during the pandemic became known on TikTok for his Days of Girlhood series, had more than 10.8 million followers on the platform. The Mulvaney controversy began on April 3rd when Bud Light sent him a custom-made can. Okay, we know this information, so we're not going to go through this again. An analyst said the decision to pair Bud Light with a transgender activist was a strange marketing idea. I simply don't understand why they hired the person who was doing the marketing, said Ted Jenkins, CEO of Oxygen Financial, which he founded to offer financial services to business owners and high-tech net worth individuals across... Excuse me. I just drank coffee during that video, so I just burped on the video. That's fine. Sorry. Where am I? Which he founded to offer financial services to business owners and high net worth individuals across America. He told Fox News Digital, I mean, if your target customer is Kid Rock and then all of a sudden you decide to go RuPaul, that just doesn't make any sense at all. I almost read that as Ron Paul, which would have made it really weird. Gosh. That's a picture of the apology. It wasn't an apology. Brendan Whitworth, the CEO, said, we never intended to be part of it. Yeah, I'm not going to read that again because we've already read that in previous videos. I don't want to waste time going over information that we've already gone over. So if you want to hear that, just look at the videos titled relating to this and you can go back and look at it. So one thing that I've wondered, though, about all of this Dylan Mulvaney drama, like seriously, he's repping so many different brands, and my husband and I were talking about it. And I was like, okay, but... he's now repping MAC Cosmetics. He's repping for Olay skincare and cosmetics. Was it L'Oreal? No, Maybelline. He's repping for Maybelline skincare and cosmetics. Like, are you allowed to, like, rep for all these brands? It's not a conflict of interest if you're being paid for all these brands to be like, I use the products every single day. And it's like, do you though? Because I don't think you do. Like, you can't use 25 different brands of skincare every day. But I don't know, maybe. I don't know. As I was saying, maybe it's fine to do a bunch of different deals. I don't know. Like, I don't know how marketing works that way. Like, if you can rep for a ton of brands and be sponsored by a ton of brands, it just seems, I don't know, it almost seems dishonest to be like, I use Olay every single day. And then turn around and like a few weeks later, I only use Maybelline. I don't know. Why is every company, again, jumping on having Dylan Mulvaney represent them when, one, if you really want inclusivity and representation, have a transgender who actually believes in their transgenderism and not this washed up actor. Or just hire a woman. It would probably be cheaper to hire an actual woman for your brands, because I'm sure Dylan charges an arm and a leg because he's out for fame and fortune. So I have Twitter open just because we're going to have some fun. We're going to look at Dylan. So Ollie London posted, in the wake of the Bud Light backlash, Dylan Mulvaney has not posted on TikTok or Instagram in 16 days. That's interesting because usually Dylan can't help but post. It appears the boycott of the brand and outrage at Dylan's partnership with Bud Light has had an effect with the TikToker, likely trying to lay low. So he's probably trying to, like, not be noticed. Ew. Prior to starting his Days of Girlhood series, Dylan Mulvaney had a gender reveal party announcing his new pronouns, all for attention, of course. The more outrageous he became, the more his views went up until he decided one day to be a girl when the views dried up. So I guess he did this bizarre thing that we'll look at. Let me just mute myself real quick.
I'm Dylan. Today is my birthday and I'm throwing a gender reveal party. And no, I'm not pregnant. It's for myself. I'm non-binary. I'm dropping the he, and my new pronouns are they, them, theirs.
First of all, that was really bizarre. Second of all, the chickens? I don't know. That was very odd. An old TikTok video of Dylan Mulvaney, which appears to have been deleted, lays out his game plan in 2021. I'm a trans non-binary actor and I have trouble finding roles, so my friend wrote me a femme character in a commercial. That's interesting. Interesting. Dylan Mulvaney, I guess, at one point was making videos where he was like, what are your pronouns to a snake? There was another Dylan Mulvaney video that I was gonna pull up. That's probably fake. Where is it? There was something. Fox News has hired Dylan Mulvaney to replace Tucker. That's funny. The thing is, I feel like that's not super satirical. I feel like Fox News is trash, and I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if they did. Wow, this is gross. This man became trans after seeing the success of Dylan Mulvaney, and many of these videos are clearly inspired by Dylan's. Alright, so here's a video that Ollie London posted of Dylan Mulvaney before transition, and after he decided to be a girl, where he acts exactly the same.
I'm scared of getting Lyme disease.
You and me both, Dylan. So anyway, I'm going to be done with the Dylan Mulvaney stuff because I know it's probably a thorn in your side as much as it is mine, but this is the face of all these cosmetic companies. Oh, I was going to show his, crap. Was it MAC or was it Maybelline? I think the Maybelline one was weirder, to be honest. But like every freaking makeup company is like, oh, we're going to have Dylan as our, what do you want to call it? Get a real woman to do this stuff, okay? I'm so sick of everything Nike, that. It just doesn't make sense. I just don't get it. But anyway, I'm going to be done with all that because I should probably wrap this video up. I think I went a little long today. That Dylan Mulvaney video is still playing up there on the other monitor. Stop it. Anyway, so I probably went a little long today. There's some things I want to talk about tomorrow that will be less Dylan Mulvaney centric. I think I mentioned them in the beginning. I've had to stop the video so many times because of interruptions. I don't actually remember what I said and what I didn't say in the beginning of the video because my brain's just been everywhere during this. So I want to say, oh, tomorrow we can talk about Alec Baldwin and how he got off scot-free for murdering a woman and how the armorer is now going to be charged instead with manslaughter, murder, or whatever she ends up being charged with, which is totally unjust. Maybe some kind of negligence charge. I can see that, but she shouldn't be charged with what she's being charged for. Alec Baldwin should be. But we can talk about that tomorrow. And whatever I said in the beginning that we'll talk about tomorrow as well. Hopefully everyone has a great rest of their afternoon. I'm going to stop this recording before I get interrupted again. It has definitely been a Monday. I hope everyone has a good rest of their Monday, and I will see everybody at some point tomorrow.